Hello and welcome to my presentation on virtual reality and pedagogy. In this presentation I'll be discussing the re-emergence of virtual reality and how it might be used in education. What is virtual reality? Virtual reality is a three-dimensional immersive simulation of either a real-world space or a virtual space that can be experienced using a head-mounted stereoscopic display. This is achieved by having two independent images, either rendered on a computer or recorded from real life, and have that displayed to each eye simultaneously. And the brain then combines these images into a fully immersive 3D visual that completely fills the wearer's field of vision. In a virtual environment, users are able to experience a completely fabricated world and also interact with it. Now, these immersive environments can be used in many areas, from training simulations to education, video games, and other forms of entertainment. In education and training has the ability to expose a person to simulations which would otherwise maybe place that person in a dangerous or life-threatening situation. The Oculus Rift is one of many hardware solutions currently in development and competing for a market share in the rebirth of virtual reality after its failure back in the early 90s. One of the reasons for this was because of the astronomical cost of hardware able to simulate virtual environments. This was due to technical limitations, limited image resolution, and virtual reality never took off commercially as expected. The recent rise in interest in virtual reality has come as a result of overcoming these initial obstacles with cheaper hardware as well as technical advancements.
Virtual reality started showing its face in popular culture with releases of movies such as Tron in the 80s and The Lawnmower Man in 1992.
Job Smith is the Lawnmower Man. A man
Joe, come on, boy, let's go. Grass is waiting for you.
with the mind of a child.
Yeah, Cybo Man. He came to see me.
Cybo Man. Comics, right?
Yeah, Cybo Man.
And a doctor
Virtual reality holds a key to the evolution of the human mind.
with a vision of the future.
I have a game in my house that you might like to play. Would you like that?
Yeah. Okay. That was really bad.
I have different games. I even have one that could help make you smarter.
Now, Job Smith is about to enter the world of virtual reality.
It's gonna hit me! No, Joe, just relax. It's gonna be like being up there with the stars, Joe. They're going to another planet. His mind is like a clean, hungry sponge. I just graduated to the next level, Joe.
You're not the Lawnmower Man. You've certainly changed. I don't know how you did it, but I approve.
I absorbed Latin yesterday in less than 2 hours.
Joe, where are you? Oh, Joe.
A world where the normal course of events can suddenly turn inside out.
You realize, Dr. Angelo, that my intelligence has surpassed yours.
The imaginary becomes real,
Trying to get inside my head, Joe.
You can't hide anything from me, Dr. Angelo.
and reality
We have no idea what he's gonna do.
is all in your mind. The Lawnmower Man.
The popularity of the Oculus Rift and its extensive media attention is due to the recent acquisition of the initial startup company by Facebook. The Oculus Rift entered the scene approximately 2.5 years ago on Kickstarter. It was touted as the next generation of head-mounted displays for VR, and it was acquired after raising about $2.5 million through the Kickstarter program. Facebook bought it for $2 billion, 601 days from the launch of the Kickstarter campaign. The Oculus Rift isn't the only company that is currently building or producing these displays. Now, with the resurgence of popularity in this particular medium, Google has produced their own version, which is kind of the low end and meant for large markets, called Google Cardboard. Along with that, we have HTC and its version called Vive. Sony's also gotten into the game with Project Morpheus, Samsung with VR Gear, Microsoft, not to be outdone, with HoloLens, and another new one to the scene is called Mind Maze by MindLeap. Each of them have their strengths and weaknesses. Not all of them are strictly just for virtual reality, but also some of them combine virtual reality and augmented reality. Currently, virtual reality is aimed at the video game market, but it has a great potential for education. VR, like any other tool, when we use it in the classroom, we want to use it to engage students and increase the learning and comprehension of the lesson.
One thing that we've always seen value in as a society is like sending kids on field trips, actually sending them to do things, not just to read about it in a textbook. And that's because for most people, reading in a textbook is not the most efficient way to learn something or remember something. The problem is that right now, the people who can do these things are really geographically and socioeconomically limited. Like I just came here from Washington, D.C., and I was visiting the Smithsonian, and I was noting how all of the kids in the entire D.C. area all get to visit the Smithsonian, all of its different museums as kids. But that's an experience that most people across the country could not realistically do. And a lot of kids that are in lower income schools, they could never dream of going to anything remotely close to that. Virtual reality is a technology that potentially enables people to experience things in a way that's similar to real life, to get a lot of that value and have a lot of the same experiences and get them on an even playing field, so that it's not just the elite few who get to come to cities like DC or Philadelphia and learn about the arts, learn about science.
You could pick anywhere in the world that you'd want to go. Where would you want to go?
I would like to go to the moon.
Thailand.
Ancient Greece.
India.
To Nigeria, my homeland.
One or maybe all of the 7 wonders of the world.
When you explore different places, you have the chance to actually learn something new.
You want to be able to show the kids that there's something outside of your community that you could go to and learn from, and that there's other places you can visit.
All right, so let's do our objective and we'll talk about the lesson for today.
We're gonna take a field trip to Verona, Italy to see the place where Romeo and Juliet lived.
I'm going to take you on this field trip under the water. Okay, you guys ready? Pick up your devices
and look in your cardboard.
What is that? I see a shark.
Whoa! It allowed us to go somewhere we wouldn't normally be able to go.
Are we in China?
This is the Great Wall of China.
We got to see the place itself, so we could actually understand what she was talking about.
How long would it take to walk the length of the Great Wall of China? So much more enriching than just showing them a picture or just having them read about it.
This device can actually make us go to places that we've never been before.
It brings the lesson to you.
You have to see it for yourself to believe it.
There's so much other places to see, so you know that it's never going to end.
Virtual reality in education and training can encompass a number of different areas, from simulations such as dissecting a virtual frog to data visualization, or as it was mentioned in the earlier video, going on virtual field trips. Students studying medicine can use virtual reality to learn how to diagnose a virtual patient or perform virtual surgeries. It's also been used by psychology students to desensitize people from various phobias. It could also be used to develop other programs for treating post-traumatic stress disorder. Students studying industrial design might use virtual reality to develop a product and test it in a virtual environment prior to going to manufacturing and market. Virtual reality lends itself to a number of conceptual frameworks, such as constructivism. Students are able to interact with virtual objects in a hands-on kind of fashion. They're also able to work with other students in the class collaboratively, or anywhere in the world for that matter. It can promote web-based learning outside of the classroom if they have access to a smartphone and a device like Google Cardboard. And then virtual reality also gives control to the students by allowing them to experiment on given tasks and then monitor their own comprehension of the material through their successes. Virtual reality can also help students develop 21st century skills by developing information and media literacy through interactions or creation of virtual worlds. With the development of libraries of courseware, students can explore and learn about subjects that interest them in self-directed learning. Virtual environments can also foster problem-solving skills through trial and error while working independently or in collaboration with others. Through simulation, students can also develop critical thinking skills, allowing them to apply reason and judgment to understand the connection between certain ideas or concepts.
Our goal here in Plainview was to put these machines in front of as many students as possible within this 1 year.
So when we found out about it, we all trampled each other to get towards the door so you can get on the computer first.
Put on our 3D glasses, we were just all like, wow. And we just started seeing what we can create.
And the lesson planning that went behind this, it really brings it to life. I can have kids engaged.
Our 5th grade teachers during professional development from Z-Space were able to collect and put together a folder with all the lab experiences that they wanted to share. So now they have everything ready to rock and roll when they're in there with the students.
You can get a lot more done in your 42-minute period. Setting up some of these labs would be impossible in those kind of time frames, but you can walk into Z-Space and have the thing saved for the students all ready to go.
Our 5th graders are working with the application called Newton's Park, and that's the same application that the AP Physics students used, was Newton's Park. So it's interesting to see how it's being used at a high school AP level and in a 5th grade level. 6th grade is using Franklin's lab. Then they're going to go back into the tech shops and actually design their own electricity boards. Then they're going to go back to Z-Space and create these electricity boards that we would never be able to afford or be able to let them do for safety reasons.
What I love about this is the collaborative approach, in the sense that I have 2 students, one with a stylus and the other student with the glasses on, being a part of that lesson, and they need to work together to problem solve.
You can see what works and what doesn't work. Everyone's learning together.
Those inquiry skills, I think, are second to none with a device like this.
So how do we create this content for this new device? There are a couple of options. We have Unity, which is a 3D interactive content creation tool used primarily for video game development, but it's also can be used for virtual reality, and it has native output for the Oculus Rift. Another company, Eon Reality, similar to Unity, and it's touted as being a simple way for either students or teachers to create content themselves. If we don't want to create 3D simulations, we can also record 360-degree stereoscopic video using some systems like the Ozo by Nokia, GoPro's 360, as well as Jaunt's 360 camera. These camera systems are extremely expensive, but would allow for content creation that we could then use in education.
Some of the advantages of virtual reality is that it's an active rather than a passive experience. Students are able to engage and work with the material rather than sitting and just listening to a lecture. It's also immersive, meaning that there's no distractions. It's also an immediate engagement, and it allows us to keep the students engaged where their attention spans are limited. It allows them to explore and have that hands-on approach, which aids retention of the material. It also helps them understand complex subjects, theories, or concepts that would be hard to describe with words, and is also well suited for many learning styles. Some of the disadvantages of virtual reality is still the cost. Even with entry-level solutions such as Google Cardboard, students would require to have a fairly powerful smartphone to be able to run certain applications that would allow them to visualize the virtual reality. Another thing is that it can isolate students. By placing them in a virtual environment, they may not interact in the same way that they would socially in the classroom. Another problem is that they may be more interested in the medium of virtual reality than what the message is trying to convey. Another problem is the possibility of motion sickness when the wearer of a virtual display has a disconnect between their inner ear and what they're seeing. This can make them feel nauseous or dizzy. And the last thing is that we don't really know what the long-term health implications might be with using something like virtual reality for extended periods of time. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.